As usual, every 3 months, although this one I'm a bit late, I like to make a little review of what the last 3 months have looked like, the last quarter in business terms or the last season in seasonal terms. I'm going to be reviewing spring of 2024 and giving a little game plan for what I would like to achieve in the summer of 2024. So first, a review. What did I get up to? Well, I've got a journal and I write tons of notes in it. I write every day down. I try to do this every day, although some days I have to write the previous 2 or 3 days. That's all right. And in general, I also rate my days out of 10 based on how much I was in line with the schedule that I'm trying to follow. I've got my schedule written there over there. I find that if I follow my whole schedule, I give myself, and if I don't do any of my addictive things like spend hours watching YouTube or eating a lot of sugar, for example, I lose points for that out of 10. But if I don't do any of my addictions and I do follow the schedule, I always give myself at least a 9 out of 10. And I do reserve the 10 for days where I'm particularly focused or that I feel that I have been particularly productive and that it was an excellent day. A very important thing to note about these ratings out of 10 is not in terms of my present personal enjoyment or instant gratification. I do find that there are days where I allow myself to eat all the sugars I want and watch all the YouTube videos that I want and be completely lazy and not go out. And on those days, sure, in the moment I might be feeling elated, but in the long run, I know that my life would be pretty sad if every day was like that. So that's the importance of rating my days out of 10 based on if I did this for, let's say, 100 days in a row, would I feel like I've made a lot of growth or not? So, very important for me right now is reading a lot of books, something which I will be mentioning in this review. I have read a decent amount of books. So, at the very beginning of spring, so this was the end of March, the first week of spring, I had a holiday up in the north of Portugal with my family. We saw many beautiful places like Monsanto, where they filmed House of the Dragon, parts of it. I also got to climb the rocks with my brother. That was a lot of fun. We got to eat in nice restaurants. I also went all the way to the very northeast of Portugal, which is called Miranda do Douro, and it was snowing at the time. And so that was quite a beautiful sight, see that it was snowing, although the snow didn't really form on the ground as it was a bit too warm for that. When I say too warm, 2 or 3 degrees is enough for the snow not to stay frozen when it hits the ground. But very beautiful to see Spain just across the Douro from that site. We also went past Bragança, we went to Braga up north, got to eat the most delicious francesinha I've ever had in my life. It was a really, really good holiday. And I also went on a few walks with my friends. I've got a friend called Ricardo. We went for a walk in Ortiga. We did a few of these. When it was still this first week of spring, there was so much water flowing between these rocks in this beautiful field, this beautiful landscape that's very unique here to Portugal. Very lovely sights, and we were walking with his dogs. And it was really nice. And then 3 months later, we do the same walk, almost 3 months later, completely dry, not a drop of water going through that little river, which really shows the difference between the rainy season and the dry season. What else? I also went camping, and in this first week of spring still, it was very eventful as it was a week of holiday for me, off work, my first week of holiday this year. And I went camping in a place that I've been camping many times before in the summer, but I wanted to go now, end of winter, beginning of spring, just see what it was like with the water higher. And the water was flowing, it was rushing, it was crazy. And the waterfall that they have there was flowing with such intensity that I understood why the pool became 3 meters deep, and that when you jump in the summer from the height of 5 or 6 meters, you can just barely reach the bottom of this about 3 meter deep pool. All natural, and it's so wonderful to swim there. I did go for a dive, even though the water was flowing really fast. And I couldn't stay in for long. I stayed in for less than a minute in this cold water. The way that it was freezing and flowing, I only managed to submerge myself twice, but I had a very meditative moment in that cold with the noise of the rushing water. That was a really cool experience I've had. I have many great conversations with my friends every now and then. I'll hang out at my friend's house, and with this one friend, Ricardo, we seem to have very deep and introspective conversations about what the world's going to look like in the future. Most recently, we were talking about artificial intelligence and crypto and how that will shape the world that we're moving into in the near future. I found it interesting. And it's always nice to have these sort of conversations because whereas my mind is an overthinking mind that can drift onto the future very often. It's nice to talk with people who are more grounded, more in the present, and thinks that the future is going to look closer to what it looks like today than some really weird either dystopian or utopian future, depending on how you look at it. And so it's nice to have balancing perspectives on these things. I got a small raise at work, but it was smaller than I expected. So the next time I have a conversation about my raise, I'm going to be asking a bit more. Hopefully I get a bit more. I'm saving a bit more every month, which is a nice thing, but it's still definitely not enough. Even if I worked for 40 years straight, I couldn't afford to buy a house at this current wage. So yeah, I'm trying to get that up. I've also managed to substantially reduce the amount of time that I use technology, something that I'm very happy about because, to be honest, I noticed in April, I was just spending so much time on technology. I calculated, after the number of hours that I'm awake in a week, let's put it at around 114 hours awake, I'm at, let's say, over 50 of those hours either at work or commuting to work or on my lunch break at work, which leaves, in terms of free time that I have per week, about 60 hours. Now, in those 60 hours, how much of them do I spend offline, not in front of a screen or connected to technology? How much do I spend connected? And when I did the calculation, I noticed, wow, I have less than 20 hours a week where I'm not connected to technology in my free time. And so I managed to change that drastically, increasing the number of hours that I spend reading physical books, not even on a Kindle or digitally on a screen or something. I actually use physical books and I love that. I want my whole book collection to be physical now. I want to have a big bookshelf with all the books I've read as well. I like that experience. And so I've made quite a positive difference in that regard. Still not to the point that I wish I was at, but I noticed that progress is progress, and I'm very happy with where my life is at the moment. Something I noticed when I made this last 3-month review video at the end of the winter season, or the first season of the year, or you could say the last season of the cycle of spring, summer, autumn, winter. I noticed that I was saying I was starting to find my flow a bit more. And I can say 3 months later, yeah, I'm still finding my flow, not as rapidly as I felt in the first 3 months of the year, in that winter sort of quarter, but I am still finding flow. And I know that I'm closer than ever to getting to a more balanced point in my life, which I'm very happy about. Yeah, it's an interesting thing to sort of get on track with this. And I had a few weeks, about a week ago, after 3 or 4 weeks of feeling like I was in a certain lull, in a certain not making fantastic progress in my life, questioning, was I really finding flow months ago? Was I really there, or is this just a very temporary thing? But this last week has made me feel, yes, I'm definitely on track. I'm getting back on track again. So I'm happy about that. My life is getting to one of the most balanced points it's been in a very long time, which I'm very happy about. On a side note, I'll just say in terms of exercise I've been doing, I'm recording this on a Sunday. Yesterday I did a 19-kilometer run in 2 hours. I've got a goal. One of the goals for this summer is to run a half marathon. So that's an extra 2 kilometers in that same amount of time. It's 21 kilometers. And that's one of my goals for this summer. So I'll do a few more really long runs. It kills my legs, but it's all worth it. It is worth it. No matter how tough it is, it's worth it. 2 of the books that I read were Rosicrucian books, which will be the very next video on this channel. I will be giving my notes reviewing these 2 Rosicrucian books. What ended up happening one day when I was at work is I was scrolling on Wikipedia, just going down a different rabbit hole, learning about Western esotericism, sort of mixing mystical knowledge that you would normally find in the East, in Hinduism and Buddhism, Taoism and those sort of philosophies and religions. But also I wanted to see if there was a combination of it with Western theology, such as Christianity, for example. And there is this thing called mystery schools, where they try to bridge the gap between these two. And I was going down a rabbit hole learning about Western esotericism, and one of these mystery schools is the Rosicrucian Church. I read about this at work one day on a little break, and then the very next weekend I was going to a friend's house, this guy Ricardo I talked about in this video actually, and he was showing me his little officina, like a garage that he works in, like a man cave sort of thing, where he's got proper tools, where he's building like wooden shelves and stuff. And he said, oh, look at this bookshelf here. And it was full of really old books. They looked to be like 30, 40, 50-year-old books. And he said there was this priest fella, American, who was a friend of my father's, and he left him this collection of books. Look at how cool the cover on this book is. He passes me the book. I'm looking at the cover, I read the word, and it says Rosicrucian. I'm like, oh, that's fascinating. I just read about that this week. You know, I take that as a universal sign, something aligning. You know, this idea that Carl Jung talks about synchronicity, very fascinating. I was like, I really want to read this. Can I have this book? He says, sure, yeah, you can read it. And it was Rosicrucians in Questions and Answers. I realized that it was kind of like a sequel to the original book that Max Heindel wrote, which was The Rosicrucian Cosmoconception. And that is the book that I should be reading first. So I said, oh, have you got this one? And he had 2 copies of it. He let me keep one of them to read. I've given these books back since. But yeah, I had about 800 pages of weird, esoterical, mystical, spiritual, almost like magic sort of explanations of the universe. And I'll be honest, I read both these books. I read those 800 pages. 95% of it didn't really stand out to me, and it didn't really speak out to me. But the 5% that did, really did, and I really liked it. And so I've taken notes on those 5%, and I'm going to be very happy to share that in the next video. So make sure to catch that video. That was quite a coincidence to stumble upon those books. I managed to do a half marathon run a few months ago. That was just under 21 kilometers. It took over 2 hours, so yeah, still on that. I discovered a donut shop in the city I live in, or spend weekends in Fatima. And this donut shop is amazing. And they have so many flavors. And I've been going every weekend, once on Saturday and Sunday, typically, trying a new flavor every single time, sometimes repeating. And I have great conversations with the owners there. And I have a great conversation with this lovely old man that I met called Joseph. And yeah, I find him to be very wise, 91-year-old. And that's how I've been spending most of my weekend mornings on Saturday and Sunday, spending about 2 hours in the donut shop, enjoying a new flavor and having a great conversation with this lovely old man, which is really interesting. I never expected that I would be finding this sort of kind of like a sage figure in certain ways. And I get to talk with him about these esoteric topics because he's informed on them. And there are so few people that I talk to who are even aware of this sort of stuff, or if they are aware of it, they immediately dismiss it as some mumbo jumbo, wishy-washy nonsense. What else? I'm almost done with the notes that I've taken. I've been really enjoying watching old school RuneScape videos again on YouTube. Just really enjoying watching it. Makes me motivated to finish my series and to play more. Although I don't do that yet, as I'm giving much higher priority at the moment to reading books. That's my #1 priority at the moment. Oh, this really fun project I did in my back garden. So in the winter quarter, I built a sort of a stone campfire, like a circle of stones to make a campfire in the back garden. What I was doing when I was collecting these rocks, this lovely old lady passed by, saw me collecting these rocks into a wheelbarrow and said, my husband used to collect really big rocks. He passed away recently and they're just taking up space in front of my house. If you would like, you can come collect these rocks. That would be great. I said, thank you. I call up one of my friends. I say, hey, I need a way to move these massive rocks. Do you know anyone with a tractor or like a pickup truck or something? And he says, let me send you a picture. And he sends me a picture on Messenger of this, what do you call it? It's not a trolley. What do you call it? You add it to the back of a car or something and you can load stuff on it. The name has completely skipped me in English. Yeah, reboque is what it's called in Portuguese, but a trailer sort of thing, the platform, a trailer, something. Well, you can use it to put things on it, and he had just finished building that, and so one morning we loaded all the rocks, took it to my back garden. I said thank you to the old lady by giving her a bottle of wine, and I told her, hey, you can come see the rocks when they're done. The project I wanted to work on was making these stone seats around the campfire. And that's what I managed to do. I made enough sitting room for 12 people, and I thought that was quite a coincidence of the number 12. You've got 12 Knights of the Round Table, the 12 months of the year. You've got the 12 zodiac sign. I don't know. You see the number 12 in lots of places, and I thought, what a coincidence. I made these lovely stone seats and a lovely campfire. And soon it's going to be my birthday. My birthday's on the 9th, very soon. And I'm going to be inviting all my friends and we're going to be grilling meats on the barbecue. And then, you know, I would love for them to sit on the stone seats and just enjoy the warmth of a campfire. And that's something I've been working on, and spending more time in nature as well. It's excellent. So I've done that, and yeah, I went on a nice walk with people from my village who organised last year's village party. There's one every summer, and we went to this new place called Aroca, and it's got one of the biggest suspension bridges in Europe. And I hope to go back there in the summer because I didn't go on suspension bridge that day. But this lovely walkway next to the river where you're standing on these paths. And this has been increasing in Portugal. They've made these wonderful wooden paths that normally go flowing next to flowing water, rivers. And you can walk for kilometres and kilometres on these excellently kept paths that they've made just so people can enjoy more walks out there in nature. My brother had his graduation ceremony, and recently I heard that he passed his last exam and now he's just missing his final project. It's weird that in Portugal they have the graduation ceremony before you even know whether you finished the year and passed or not. But at the same time, you can kind of expect if they went to the graduation ceremony, they're going to be making every effort to actually graduate that year. And so I feel pretty confident that my brother's graduated from uni here in Portugal. And soon he'll be entering the work market. Poor soul. It'll be like the rest of us who have to work a normal job. I read The Power of Now for a second time. I have, in the mornings, I go on this shuttle, which is like a 9-seat car that goes to work and back to near where I live. So that way we can save on petrol, so that's another way I've been saving a bit of money. And so I'm in the car for about 20 minutes to work and back from work every day, not having to drive, and I can read a book in those moments. It's quite nice. So I read The Power of Now for a second time. Still, I will say it's my favourite book that I have ever read. The first time I read it was 2 years ago, and it really changed my perspective on life, like completely. It really profounded the depth of my mindfulness and enjoying the present moment, because that's what it's all about, the power of now. And I read it a second time, and I wondered, can I really translate my thoughts into a video reviewing that? I wondered. I felt I'm not even sure if I can even talk about what the power of now tries to do. It's trying to talk about something which can't be put into words. It can't be described. It's only something that you can experience. And you can try to use words and describe it from many different angles, but I don't think you're able to understand it in, like, say, a logical manner. It's something that you have to experience for yourself. And reading it a second time was almost as good as the first time, I'll be honest. That first time was really life-changing, but still the ideas resonate with me. And I'm also taking the opportunity to read a sequel to it, which is called A New Earth. And I'm also enjoying that one a lot, reading that for the first time. What else? I went camping a second time in this season, where I went to the Fragas de São Simão. That was a lot of fun and a great adventure. And the water was nice and cold. And I made another campfire, and I got to enjoy some music. And it was overall a really good time. I had this thought to myself at one point in the last 3 months. So I haven't smoked weed since the 8th of January. So it has been, well, tomorrow will make it 6 months, half a year tomorrow. Wow, I hadn't even noticed. 180 days, basically. And I told myself when I reached day 100, I've got to do another 100. Because most of those first 100 days, I'd say about more than half, maybe 60 of them, between days 30 and 90, I felt, I want to smoke. I realised, wait, I haven't really completely let go of this addiction if this is where my mind's going. So, well, let's do another 100. And then between day 90 and about 140, 150, for about almost 2 months, I was fine. I didn't feel tempted whatsoever. Then after around day 140, 150, until now, 180, I had been feeling tempted again for the last month and a bit. Knowing that if it was available, if I had it, that's what I would be doing. I would be getting home, rolling a joint and smoking it. And I know that's what I would do if it was available. So I don't feel like I'm completely independent from it yet. I don't think I am. And so I'm even considering when I reach day 200, I was going to say, oh, when I reach day 200, hey, when I'll give it a shot again, see how it affects you now that you're 200 days clean. I don't think so. I'm almost considering. I'm not sure if I will yet. Try to go to day 300. That's what I'm considering, but it isn't 100% certain yet. But that's something else I've been considering. Anyway, I'm at day 180 without it. I'm on a good streak right now. Kind of don't want to end that as well. And that's Also, another thing, out of all the different addictions I have, the only one that I've actually managed to deal with is this one. All the other ones are still troubling me. So if I get back onto it, then I feel like I'm defeated on all four fronts. So with this addiction, I thought to myself one day, if I could do it in any way that I want, how would it be? And I thought, well, I would go out camping and I would find this beautiful place with a lovely view after a nice swim in cold water, listening to some of my favourite music, and then I would spark it and enjoy the moment. And then I realised, wait a minute, I get to enjoy all of that without smoking anyway if I just go camping. Why not just do that? And I realised, yeah, all I have to do is go camping. The interesting thing is, while I'm there camping, I'm thinking, God, I really wish I could smoke a joint right now. But I'm like, you know what? This moment is good enough as it is. I don't need to be comparing myself to that hypothetical alternate reality where I'm getting high. So yeah, interesting realization that for me. What else? Had a day out with my cousin and my friend Ricardo in Coimbra. That was a really nice day out. We had cool adventure. I'm not going to go into too much detail describing it on this video. It doesn't really matter for others. This is more of a video diary for me personally and for anyone who may find themselves interested. If they are watching this, please leave a comment, man. I'm curious, who the hell is watching this? But yeah, that was a really interesting day out. And when I look back on this video, I'll know what that day was. My cousin did his 200,000 kilometer in that car. Now, he bought the car with 190 something thousand kilometers, but we filmed the moment that it turned to 200,000. How often do you see a car turning 100,000 kilometers old? What else? I went to the Mayfair and went on really fun rides, but most of my friends were too scared to go on them. I'm finding my flow a bit more. I ate some strawberries that I've planted in my garden. I have sat around a campfire that I made with two of my friends and we had a great conversation. I discovered that there's a calisthenics park near me, which means that instead of doing my typical half an hour runs in the morning, which were normally around 26 minutes-ish, it's now reduced to about 17 to 18 minutes of running to get to the calisthenics park and back. But in the middle, I am training at the calisthenics park and gaining upper body strength, which is awesome because just a month ago I couldn't even do the monkey bars. I had so little upper body strength and had gained enough weight around my belly that I wasn't able to swing from one bar to the other. But I have since then, with a little bit of muscle conditioning, been able to regain that strength again. So one of the goals till the end of the year, hopefully, is to be able to do 15 chin-ups, which I used to be able to do, 5 years ago now. That's kind of scary to think about. That has been 5 years since I was at my fittest. And for almost 5 of those 5 years, most of that time was not training whatsoever. Yeah, I got so lazy after the year 2019 summer. Oh, I'll blame the pandemic in the middle, sure. Had a short time in the Algarve with my friends. I had a group of friends from the UK. They were coming to the Algarve here in Portugal for a week of holiday. They invited me along for a few days and I said, yeah, sure. And I drove those guys all around and they let me stay for a few days and it was really awesome. Really nice to see my friends again. Feels like no time has passed when I see them and that's a really wonderful experience. And the Algarve, so nice to explore. I had a really good time. What else? I had a day out up in Braga. This was at the very end of this spring season, near the beginning of the summer season. Invited one of my best friends locally and got to hang out with one of my best friends from the UK, Dio. And we had a francesinha, had a really, really funny conversation at dinner time with stories that I cannot tell on this channel. Now let's get on to the final bit of the video where I talk about my goals for the next 3 months. So I've discussed this at lunchtime. I have 7 things that I want to do, which covers most of what's on this list. First of all, I want to have great days out. One, going to the Palácio da Pena and the nearby Castelo dos Mouros and see the big well sort of tunnel sort of thing that they have there. Make a day out in Lisbon. There's another day out that I want to have. Oh, where was it? Wait, I'll remember. Don't say anything. I'll remember. What did I write down? That's right, Aroca. That's the suspension bridge again. I want to have that day out seeing the suspension bridge. There's this long walk that I want to do with my mum where we're going to the source of this river that's near us and it's a long 3-4 hour walk, so we'll do that one day. I want to go camping at least 2 more times this summer. I I think one of them I would like it to be in Penedford, the other one I think in Serra de Estrela, the tallest mountain in continental Portugal. And what else do I want to do? Oh yeah, I want to run that half marathon. That's item number 6 in less than 2 hours. So that's a challenge. I'll keep doing long runs when I can at the weekends that I'm available to do that. I'd like to be able to do by the end of the summer 5 chin-ups. I think that would be pretty good. I'm going to get back on cracking on reading with the Bible because I've, to be honest, I've been doing other things. Like recently, after I finished the Rosicrucian books, I've been doing Dr. K's guide on trauma, which will also be another video that I make in the upcoming weeks, which is awesome. And it's a great way to spend my time. And it's teaching me so much about meditation and mindfulness, and it's really good. So I don't regret not reading the Bible, but I really want to get back on with it. So that's something I really want to pick up on. I wanted to get it done by the end of the year, really. So yeah, it's been now 6 months and I'm still only on Exodus. Nothing has changed since the last video I made 3 months ago. But I'll get around to it. What else? Oh yeah, I want to have more cold showers than warm ones, and I've been doing a good job with that, actually. I think I've had, in the last week, 4 or 5 cold showers. I also went for a swim in the ocean, which I want to do at least a dozen times this summer. Because the ocean's just down the road, really. 5-minute run, 10-minute walk. And it's just right there, so why not go for a swim in the cold Atlantic Ocean? It's nice. What else do I want to do? I feel like there were 7 items, but I've only mentioned 6 of them. What am I missing? Well, that's about it. I want to make sure I'm still consistent with my routine. I've been waking up at 5:30, going to bed at 9:30 these days, as the sunrise sunset times means that that's more or less the darkest hours of the day, between 9:30 at night, 5:30 in the morning. So that's what my circadian rhythm has been saying. Yeah. There was another thing I read. Oh yeah, I read a shorter version of The Power of Now as well. Yeah. I haven't got anything to mention about work, really. Some weeks I'm a bit more bored. Other weeks, a bit more interested in what I'm doing. Last week was a good week. The other weeks before that, I wasn't too interested. But let's see what the next few weeks have in store. Yeah, my birthday celebration soon. I think it's going to be a good summer. I have an 11-day holiday in the middle of August. The company has to make their employees have at least 10 days off in a row once a year, and they normally do that in August. So they chose a Thursday bank holiday and said, okay, the following whole week and the Friday after the bank holiday on that week, you got to take those days off. So I've got 11 days in a row. And something I've been considering, although I might not do it, I have been considering walking the Caminho de Santiago Compostela, which would start in Porto and end there, which is 270 kilometers. Now, if I walk, let's say 30 kilometers a day, which I think is reasonable for a long hike, it's not too much, but it's also not little. I think I've got the good leg conditioning for it, based on how many runs I've been doing this year. My legs are quite muscular at the moment. I think I could do that. I think I could walk the Caminho de Santiago and do my first multiple day hike. I've never really done it before, so I'm curious how I would hold up. And I know that if I have to give up halfway through, I can always just ring my parents and say, can you come pick me up at this place? So I know that there's like no risk really on doing this walk, but I'd be curious to challenge myself and to go for a 9-day hike. I think that could be really interesting. Because I've got the time for it in the summer, and the only problem I would see is the weather being too hot, so I'd probably choose the times of the day, like beginning and ending of day for the walks when the sun isn't too high up. Yeah, it's something I'm considering. I'm thinking about it. I don't know if I'll do it or not, but I have been seriously considering it. Right, well, I've got my goals that I'm missing to say. Okay, yep, okay. Yeah, that's it. That's my goals. Alrighty. That's me out. Half an hour video. I make one of these every 3 months. I was really expecting this video to be less than 10 minutes, and I felt the pace was really good at the beginning to be on track for that. But I'm not. Alrighty. See you in the next video, where I will be reviewing the Rosicrucian books. Bye-bye.